What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the PT Coffee Cast, brought to you by The Movement. My name is Dalton, and alongside me today is my beautifully bearded friend, William. William, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good. I just want to make a comment. Can I make a comment?
This is your podcast.
Is it? I thought it was
It's our podcast.
So you got to agree.
Okay, I agree. Go ahead.
Okay. Now that I have your consent, you look like a runner today.
Do I?
Yeah.
What about me?
You got these are sick looking kicks.
I know, dude. It's a problem. We talked about this before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Uh-huh.
And then you got the running watch. I think just the combo, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of dressed to do my work, but also
I could
am a runner.
break out into a marathon right
Exactly.
now. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm also wearing a running shirt and hat.
Yeah. In your Jordans.
And my Jordans. It's a bit of a with running socks, which is, to be honest.
You're a bit conflicted as to what you want to do.
You know what? And actually, I think I am,
That's true.
Between
you
two
don't
worlds.
really know exactly whether you want to cross someone up or you want to go run a mile.
Let's be real, man. I was born to cross people up.
Oh, it's good to be back, man. Guys, we're back with another episode. Super stoked to have you. Thanks for tuning in. If you aren't subscribed to the podcast, make sure you subscribe on your podcast platforms. If you want to see my fit that makes me look like a runner with my new shoes that we won't talk about and my watch and Will's Jordans, make sure you guys head over to the YouTube channel. Check us out there. We've been posting our YouTube full video episodes there, some other videos around what we do here at The Movement, and hopefully some fun stuff coming up on that channel. So make sure you subscribe. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers. We're moving up, man. I think we're around like 127 right now. So we're creeping up. Thank you guys who have subscribed and tuned in. We appreciate it. And then, yeah, if you guys want to learn more about the mentorship, head over to themovementmentorship.com. Check that out there. All things mentorship, and the podcast can be found there. But today we're going to dive into, I guess, a little bit of a mentorship thing. We hosted a seminar here at The Movement in the flesh with some McMaster physio students, which is super cool. It's a local university where we have our clinic, and we had them here for a seminar talking about overcoming imposter syndrome, which is the first module in our mentorship, and in my opinion, I think probably the most important one to do right away, which is why it's first.
Yeah, it was great. Shout out to all the people that came out to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good. I think like that stuff, we were talking about this after, and I think like that stuff always leaves us so fired up. And I think like one thing that I've learned in my career is like chase those things, like chase the things that leave you feeling so fueled up after that you're like ready to run through a brick wall. And I feel like we've done a decent job of like chasing that, like since we started. Like we felt that with our Instagram page when we first started it back in physio school. We always felt that with the podcast. We felt that with when we were creating the mentorship content. We felt that with implementing the mentorship and then doing these like seminars. Like we always feel like super fired up. And I think like it's important to make sure that you figure out what that is and chase after it. Yeah,
to quote the great Emma Jack, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to ask yourself, like, am I doing this because I really want to do it? And if you really want to do it and you go after it, like you're going to have the energy to really put effort towards that.
We're going to go on a small tangent here because I like this thought. And I think one thing on that is that it doesn't mean that whatever you're doing before is actually not good or actually fulfilling for you. So I think something that we've recognized is like, obviously we get super fired up to work with people here one-on-one, do our thing, treat people, help people get back to what they love. Like that is something that I really enjoy. But what I feel after doing the mentorship stuff and the stuff that like we do with the podcast and with movement mentorship and working with students and that kind of thing, now that leaves me on a whole nother level. And that's okay. It's not that like what I'm doing right now isn't fulfilling me, but I think there's something that maybe fires me up even more. And I think continuing to try to put yourself in positions to chase that is going to leave you full and not leaning on the edge of that like burnout.
We're trying to help people maybe skip a few steps that we went through when we first finished school. And I think like seeing those light bulbs come up and having people go through some of the stuff we put together just really makes me happy and like feel like I'm doing something that's gonna change people's lives, you know, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah. I mean, one of our visions here is to change the way people view and consume healthcare, specifically the physiotherapy space. And that doesn't just go for like the consumer or the public. That is also from the actual physio side of things as well. And so I think that really hits on that aspect of things.
Yeah, because you people are the ones who are going to be out there seeing clients and, you know, making impact. So if we can steer you in the right direction in any way, shape, or form when it comes to that, then, you know, we can be confident that you're out there making positive change.
Totally. And I think that kind of goes into to like transition into the episode is like, we got asked a bunch of questions and they were great questions. And I think they're going to make for really good podcast content. And one of them was around like, what should I be asking or looking for in a clinic when I'm like applying for a job? Which I thought was a great question, a tough question, but something that I think like we've thought about and have some experiences on, just having obviously gone through that process early in our career. And I think it'd be super awesome to like share our thoughts on that with the people.
Yeah. Do you want to go or should I?
I want you to go.
Yeah, so like looking at, you know, I guess we could start with what people typically do.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times people typically look at how much they can make at a place. You know, like how much can I make? Is this going to get me to a good financial position? And I think we both totally understand that. We're not, you know, unaware of the need to make a living and, you know, be successful that way. But I think where people miss out is, and seen this in there's so many examples of this that I've run into, and not just in the physio space and elsewhere too, but it's like not looking long-term enough in their career, you know, and not looking at the short term as maybe a bit of a sacrifice for your long-term growth. Because what you don't want to happen, and what we see happen a lot, is those first 2 years you go out, you grind yourself to a pulp, and you see so many clients, you're working in a place where you don't really vibe with the culture of the workplace and the way their philosophy around how they work with clients, their model of care, and you end up quitting and doing something else that is your passion, but it's 2, 3, 5 years down the road, and now you have to start from ground zero anyway at that point. And now, since you're switching everything, you need to learn how to do that and build yourself up anyway. So all you're doing is kind of moving the starting line, you know, up by not assessing and figuring out what you want long term now, and appreciating that maybe those first couple years are not going to be like your most profitable, you know, your most financially successful. Understanding that can grow over time. And what I think people really want when they think about it is like 5 years from now to be in a place where financially they're doing well and they're doing something that they love. And that they continue to want to learn about and love like going to work and being around the people that they are, like that they're working with, you know, that sort of. So I think that's sort of my general thought process is like, and there's more to it. We can dive into the specifics of like what maybe those things are to look for, but like generally speaking, I think people nowadays are often thinking very short term about like, what do I need right now? and not thinking enough about long term, how can I set myself up for overall success.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think the reason why we harp on this and drive it home so much, and why we're doing this part of the module with people on webinars and seminars, is that like the key is to knowing what you want, what your values are, what your why is, how you want to show up, what do you admire in a clinician or a clinic, what don't you admire in a clinician or a clinic, and really, really think about those things before you go out and pursue a career. Because I think what happens is you talk about like people not aligning with the clinic or the philosophy because people don't even think about what they want. They haven't sat down and thought through, wrote it down, talked to people about it. They just dive into it, which I get, like the drive to get out there, see people, you're fired up. You also need to make money. You're just in school for a long time. You're in debt. Like we all get that. Like we were there. But I think you gotta try and slow your roll a little bit, even though it might put a little bit more pressure on you, maybe from a financial standpoint. The long-term reward, like you're saying, of taking the time to think about that and not falling in that trap of like going to a place and getting burnt out in 2 years and then having to realize that you made that mistake and start that whole process over again. Now you're 2-3 years out, is important. And I think that's why we really talk about in the first module, creating your own super physio, which is going through all of those things and creating that for yourself. Because once you have that, then you can go out and find a clinic, and we can talk next about maybe how you look for that. You find a clinic that makes sense for you. And I think like I get passionate about it because we both kind of went through it, and like we took this approach. So like when I came out of school, like I didn't go to a full-time job with a full caseload with, you know, a decent split fee and make a ton of money. Like I strategically chose that path, like because I knew that was going to be a trap. And what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to work part-time at a clinic at a place where I have a mentor that I know will help me. And then I'm also going to work part-time. I chose to work part-time at a gym as a coach because I also wanted that aspect of learning and developing my skill set. And that was a significant pay cut. Like I was not making a ton of money doing that. But I knew that if I could learn those skills, I could get with the right person, I could learn from someone who's thinks from my same perspectives as me, can guide me, teach me, I can get some knowledge in a realm that I think I want to go into, that value and that will pay off and compound in 5 to 10 years from now from a financial perspective. And so a lot of people will be like, oh, well, it's easy to say it, but then to do it. But it's like, you know, everyone's circumstance is different, but I did that. We've done that. So I think it's something to think about and make sure that you're taking the time to really work through so that you can get that for yourself.
It probably is going to be harder, at least at the start. Mm-hmm. You know, and you probably will have to make sacrifices, but at the end of the day, is it going to be worth it? And I think it is. The other thing there is like, I don't think we're not saying you have to find the perfect scenario, right? Like, it may be the case where maybe that opportunity isn't there right away. You have to take a job that maybe for example, the model of care isn't perfect for what you want to do, but you have a really amazing mentor, someone you get along with really well that resonates with the way you think, right? That's something I think is arguably like that's the top of the, you know, the hierarchy of needs is like the people you work with and a mentor, someone that can guide you. Even if maybe the model's not perfect, maybe the clinic's not seeing the kind of clients you want, maybe there's some holes in the way things go on, but there are aspects of it that align with your values, your philosophy, that can enable you to grow so that in the future you're going to be more ready for when that opportunity comes up or for when you create that opportunity yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I remember like sitting down, I still have this paper to this day, sitting down, writing out like my pathway to what we're doing now. Like literally like graduate school, volunteer at a gym, get my first clinical job that's not ideal but has someone that's going to guide me. I even had like get my second clinical job that allows me to work with people that are more like aligned with me, and I even had get my third clinical job. Like that didn't end up happening because we just opened our own business, but like that pathway was like something that I legitimately wrote down and thought about and knew that like it wasn't going to be perfect, but if I followed the values that I wanted to portray as a clinician, the standards, the people that I wanted to be around, if I just followed that at some point, whether it was like getting somewhere that did that or creating my own thing, like I was going to get there. And I think that's what is important to think about, you know? And then you'll eventually find the right place. It might just take some time and some work.
Totally. But I think at the end of the day, like, if you can understand what your values are and your overall clinical philosophy, if you can be somewhere where the people seem to align on that end, and you're able to treat in a way that's okay for you, like that is something I would look for right off the get-go. Even if not everything is perfect, you've got to at least like align with the workplace culture and like have the freedom to treat the way that you want to. Like if you're going to compromise on that, I think that's a mistake. I think you should not do that. You should, if you want to use a lot of manual therapy and the place doesn't encourage that or allow that, that's probably not right, and vice versa. Right? Like, or if you want the highest tech ultrasound machine and it's not there, don't come work for the movement. Right? Like, because that is not going to work, right? Long term, and like it's not going to be a place where you can grow.
And so I think like tangibly how you can do this is start with identifying those things in yourself, and then I think what I always encourage people to do, and what I did and what I would do if I was going out now, is like if I saw a place that I was interested in getting a job, like I would go there and I would meet the people and I would ask if I could shadow some of their sessions or see what it would look like to work there. And I really take a lot of value away from that in a place that I would want to work. So I'm always looking at how does the team interact with each other? What is the language that they're using with each other? Is it super positive? Is it upbeat? Is it supportive? Or is it like negative, kind of competitive, kind of like they just do their own thing and don't really support each other? I'm looking at how like clinicians and people that own the clinic or whoever's there talk to the staff. So how are the leaders talking to the staff, to the front desk? How are the clinicians interacting with the front desk? How are clinicians interacting with their clientele? Like I really want to get a vibe for that, because I think that's super important. And there's a lot of things like for me that I would want to see that would make me want to work there. I want to see someone that's collaborative, positive, supporting, using good language with their clients, being positive, not perpetuating shitty narratives. Like those things I actually would really look at like first when going into a space. And you can get a lot of a feel for that by just being there and shadowing and looking for how those things interact. Like that's probably the very first thing I'm looking at. And then I'm looking at like, is there gym space? Because that's my bias and how I would approach care. But like whatever yours is, like, is that there and is it facilitated? Because there's a difference, and I've been talking about this a lot with people, like there's a difference between saying you're exercise based and actually being exercise based, and there's a difference between having a squat rack in your gym that collects dust but actually having a squat rack in your gym that gets used. Because people will like to say they like to be very exercise focused, education focused, but then and have all the things, but then when you look at how they treat, it's like, well, they're still spending a lot of time doing the other things, which is not bad, but that's just not going to align with like how I would want to treat. So it's like making sure you're taking note on those things as well, because that's going to be a big part of whether or not it's going to be a good environment for you to be treating in.
And I guess what we're saying is like, if you're weighing between like a place where you're going to make more, at least at first, and a place that aligns with your values and how you want to treat, you're gonna, and maybe has a good mentor or mentorship, you're gonna take that place.
Yeah, or you should
That's what we're
highly
recommending.
consider it, because like
Yeah.
you gotta look at the value beyond the money. And like one thing that I've learned early in my career and now is like, money matters. You need to be aware of it, but chase the skills, because building skills and leveraging skills is what's going to provide you with true value in the long run. Because if that aspect of how you make money gets taken away from you, you will always have those skills to go with you. And I think it's the same approach with physio. It's like you're looking for those things that can build your skills, that can build your communication skills, your treatment skill, whatever, all of those things that you can leverage in any place that you go or any realm that you go into. And I think that is like, you got to think that there is value in that. It's not monetary right away, but there's a ton of value in that, and it's really important. So yeah, I think like if I was weighing those two things, I'm going to go towards that, you know. And then I think figuring out one thing that's important is like, what does the treatment model look like, in the sense of how much time do you have for assessments? How much time do you have for follow-up sessions? Do you work one-on-one with the client? Is there a PTA assistance there? You know, those things I think are really important, because sometimes I feel like you don't realize that some places don't give you a lot of time to do assessments. Like, and if you're not asking those questions, like, you're going to end up doing a 30-minute assessment. And in my opinion, that's nowhere near enough time to do an assessment. And I would not want to be put in that environment. Like, I had that at one point in my career in a clinical setting, and it was wild. So like, knowing that, like, if that is how the clinic operates, like, and that doesn't align with you, like, you're probably not going to go and work there. And I think it's really important to like be aware of that, because I think sometimes people don't really think about that too much.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, those types of things make a huge difference in how you're gonna approach your care, and you're gonna make trade-offs. You know, with that, and are you okay with that? Yeah,
and like we were saying, like maybe you're weighing all these things, and like nothing's gonna be perfect, right? So like maybe you're in a place where the people are great, the culture is great, the mentorship is great, the vibe is good, they have everything you want, but maybe the treatment time is not all the way there. Like maybe you're getting 45 minutes for an assessment, you're getting 30 minutes for a follow-up, whatever. It's not ideal or perfect to what you want. I'm probably weighing those things, and I'm grasping on to taking that job, even though maybe the clinical time isn't perfect. Because what you can do is if you are in an environment that is aligned with you, fires you up, the culture is great, and you feel good, you can go in there and you can start to excel, and then you can start to have suggestions or be like, hey, like, I wonder, could we do an hour assessment, or could we do this? Like, if you're in a good environment and you start sharing those things with people, it can open up opportunities to change or further enhance what was already going on there. And I think like any good clinic, like for example for us, any good clinic or any good leadership is going to take those suggestions from their people and consider them, right? And so I think it's always a balancing act of weighing those things, because like you're never going to find maybe that perfect job that you want.
But you might. They are out there.
Right. Yeah. It's like, yeah, this is very true.
You gotta really go for it. And like, you know, if you're not there yet, you gotta level yourself up. Like,
yeah,
you know, get to where you know you are a valuable asset.
Yeah.
For that place that you want to be at.
Yeah, and if that place doesn't see you as a valuable asset, like you've committed to it, you've done the thing, even if it's a good culture and a good fit, but they don't see you as a valuable asset or aren't really leveraging that, like start looking elsewhere. And that's why I think it's important to build skills, because you can then leverage those skills at a place that does align and maybe is a better fit for you. And like, I think personally, the clinicians that are coming out, younger clinicians, the people that we've interacted with, you guys listening, you guys hold a lot of leverage. You hold a lot of leverage and a lot of skills that like clinics are looking for. Like we are looking for a specific person that if you have those skills, like you have a lot of value and you have a lot of leverage because you've built yourself into a position to take advantage of that. And I think like sometimes as new grads or even like as clinicians, I think sometimes we don't see ourselves as valuable. You know, I don't know where that kind of comes from, but like I feel like we especially new grads, like you have so much more to offer than like you come out of school thinking. And like if you can just like manage that imposter syndrome, which we talk a lot about, and like try and figure out how to overcome it, like man, you can like really get out there and really impact and really create change right away.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And we see it. We see it with people that we're talking to in the mentorships, and like, you know, like the one person that stands out, like shout out to her, is like Yara. She was in our first cohort, and she was a brand new like student out of school and crushed it. Thrust it into a position that maybe she didn't really know if she was ready for, but like absolutely dominating at like such a young age. And like early on in her career, that's the shit that fires me up. And like we need more people to see those things, because like you can do that kind of stuff like right away, and get enjoyment and value and be fired up about it.
Shout out to Yara.
Yeah. But yeah, is there anything else that like, I think that kind of covers a lot of like what we want to talk about.
Yeah, I think so.
And things to focus on. I think like just to summarize, like, you know, first and foremost, figure out what you want, what's your why, what your values are, what you want to get out of your career first. Then go and look for places that have some of those things or offer you some of those things. Pursue them. Most importantly, go to the space, shadow, interact, ask questions, get a sense for the vibe, get a sense for the model of care, and make sure that it aligns with you. And then I think more importantly is like focus early on like getting in those environments and building skills that you can leverage later on if the place that you find first isn't your dream scenario. And just keep building on that and keep looking, because like there's places out there that will support you. And if you're around Hamilton or on Toronto or anywhere really, like reach out and like see if we can connect you to someone, because like we've been able to grow a decent network of you know, friends and mentors and people that we really love and know will provide you with like a fulfilling career. And if we can connect people with those people and it makes sense, we're gonna do it. So
cool.
All right, that's all we got for today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you aren't subscribed to the podcast, make sure you subscribe on your podcast platforms. If you aren't subscribed to us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe so you can see our beautiful faces. We want to try to get to 500 subscribers on our YouTube channel by the end of this year, so help us hit that goal. And then if you want to learn more about the mentorship, head over to themovementmentorship.com. You can learn more about that there. You can set up a call with me to talk about the mentorship if it's something that you're interested in doing. Yeah, that's it. That's all. As always, stay caffeinated. Peace.